Joining us now is Dr. Tanya Haj-Hassan, a pediatric intensive care physician with Doctors Without Borders. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. You've been in contact with medical professionals who are on the ground there in Gaza. Tell us what they've described seeing in the few days since the ceasefire ended on December 1st.
Yeah, they describe a horrific situation, bombardment that perhaps even surpasses the brutality of the bombardment prior to the ceasefire. You know, 1.8 million, over 1.8 million Gazans are now displaced to the south. That's over 80% of the Gazan population, which prior to October 7th was one of the most densely populated places on earth. So you can imagine this entire population, or the majority of the population, now displaced south, living in makeshift shelters, overcrowded UN schools. They describe, I said something about people living in tents, and they said, we wish it was just tents. People are sleeping on the pavements in the middle of the street. The people in tents are the lucky ones. And I want to remind you, it's winter now, so it's quite cold. Prior to the end of the truce, they described being very cold and out looking for a jacket or warm pajamas for their family members, because when they fled, they left with only the clothes on their back. They describe horrible living situations. You know, they're unable to dispose of waste. There is no sanitation. There's outbreak of disease, diarrheal disease, respiratory illness. There are reports of hepatitis A. One of my colleagues described being afraid that he was seeing outbreaks of cholera, but there was no way to confirm, to test. And children very thirsty, walking around asking for people to fill their bottle of water because they're thirsty. People are very hungry. They don't have access to food. And the places they're being asked to evacuate, many of them are no man's land. There's no access to food or any water, clean or unclean, the areas they're being asked to evacuate to. So really, it's a death sentence. It's a Russian roulette of how you want to be killed.
You mentioned a Russian roulette of how you want to die. And I am curious, when you talk about the medical capacity there, are there functioning hospitals in the north or central Gaza at this point?
I think it depends how you define functional. These are some of the most dedicated medical providers I have ever met. So even prior to the entry of the little bits of fuel that were coming in, they were continuing to treat patients without electricity, without painkillers. They were continuing to treat patients in any way possible. We received pictures of children with multiple limbs blown off, 1 or 2 limbs remaining. This is what they're having to deal with. Of the 7 people she said she treated that day in the operating room with bilateral amputations, 2 of them were children, 1 age 2 and 1 age 11. They're seeing patients coming in with infected wounds from previous injuries sustained in the last weeks, and dressings that have not been changed because they don't have the capacity, the medical capacity to change them. They've described running out of medications to treat diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, all the chronic diseases that you need regular medications for to maintain or to control the disease. They cannot treat anymore. So patients are dying from things that you otherwise would not die from in a functioning healthcare system. I just want to end with a couple of things. You know, what we're seeing at the moment is such a flagrant disregard for international humanitarian law and for civilian life. It endangers us all. It endangers us all ultimately. It will embolden others to do the same. And I just want to say, we have to have a permanent ceasefire.
Dr. Tanya Haj-Hassan, we so appreciate you just giving a glimpse of the horror that so many are facing on a daily basis at this point. We thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.